Hopefully that's better. I don't know why I decided to start outputting 720. The very notion is absurd. Give another 1 minute before we start. 1 minute. Okay. So, welcome back, everybody, or welcome to people who were not here last time. This is part 2 of writing a slideshow program. In the first part, we were mainly just getting started. The whole idea was to just get an application put together that had enough of a framework to move forward on, right? So we're initializing graphics subsystem, opening a window. You know, we've got our asset catalogs and hot loader set up, and we pulled in a bunch of code from the Sokoban game just to get started. And by the end of last time, we were sort of basically drawing stuff on the screen. So I can go run the compiler now. I should bind hotkeys to this like I do when I'm working on Sokoban, but I haven't done it yet. So is that the right? Yeah. And I'll go to the show folder, which is now in source control, thankfully. All right, so that has compiled a thing, and the executable is, actually let me go back here, because I want to sort of be down here, and I'll just, oh. My meta program is not particularly, my meta program is pre-pending this to all that. All right, so that's going to be some meta program work that we do later. So we'll just run from here for now. So then when I want to run it, I'll go here, and I believe it's, what's it called? Show debug, show debug.exe. Hey, and so this is basically, oh. Now I'm super confused. Where was I running from last time? Apparently, what? All the fonts are gone. That's what's happening. Why are the fonts gone? The shaders are there. There's no shows yet. That is weird. Let's go get all the fonts again. I must have made some kind of mistake with accidentally deleting. Hope I didn't delete any of the source files. All right. So this is where we got last time, where we have a window and we're drawing some text in there, and it doesn't do a whole lot else. It doesn't respond to input yet. Because it's not responding to input, the Windows cursor is just doing this wait circle and stuff. And so today we're going to want to make it respond to input. In order to do that, though, we should have something for the input to do, right? So I think the first thing I'm going to do is add a concept of that there is a slideshow and some slides. And the slides will have text in them. And then we can, once we have multiple slides with text, we can set up the input to flip between slides. So we'll do that. But first, add fonts. Let's not forget to check in the fonts. All right. Now, okay, so let's make a new file here called show, maybe. Or let's call it slides, because show sounds like draw, and I don't want to get confused about that. So what am I going to do here? Well, first I'm going to add the file, and then I'm going to load it. Let's make sure that works. All right. See, if I had my hotkeys, I could just go bam, bam, bam. All right, so we compile. Now, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have a thing called a slideshow. It's a struct, and it's got slides. That's an array of pointers to slide. And that's it for now. And then we're going to have slide as a struct, and it's going to have, I don't know, background color. It's a vector 4. And it's going to have items is an array of slide item, and a slide item is going to be stuff like, well, we don't know. That's sort of going to be the base. And I'm going to say slide text is a struct using base slide item, and text is a string, and color is a vector 4. Maybe we'll have a font there or something, right? And then we'll make a placeholder because we're going to have images probably, and you know, we're not actually going to display those yet. So, all right, so that's great. So I'm going to make an init slideshow, and for now, this is just going to make a dummy slideshow, and you know, later on, we'll transition into loading this from a file. This is going to look a lot like the workflow that we did on the animation graph stuff, for anyone who saw that. All right. So let's just do that. Say show, and you know what I'm going to have? that, right? And the slideshow equals show, and we'll just return that. So A is new slide, B is new slide, and C will have 4 slides, and A text B text C text is going to be, unfortunately, there's to my brain, and D text is going to make text. That's it. All right. So I'm going to say A. What am I going to do? A dot items. So we're just going to add. We're going to add 1 text line to each one. And actually, we'll also have a y coordinate. Let's just set that to be like a default O.7 of the way up the screen or something. Let me see. What did we pick for before? Draw centered at 0.5. All right, so we'll just put it there by default, and people can change that. I'm going to say make text returns a slide text result is new slide text return result, and result dot text is copy string of s, and result dot color equals that. Well, we'll say v4. I like to define something called v4. Let's just make vector 4, and that's about it. So notice, I'm not being really paranoid about how things are allocated. I'm using new for everything. That probably would not be the case in the final program, but I'll do that for a while anyway. Oh, we don't have new anymore, by the way. You would think that I would remember that new is not a built-in thing. Okay, so array of. These should be those kind of arrays so that we can add to them. I've still got another new. And that's lowercase slide capital I item. All right. So we're not actually calling this yet, so let's call it. Slideshow. So now they still won't do anything because we're not drawing the slideshow. So what I'm going to do next, let's move this variable into main, the slideshow, and let's change our hello sailor to hello sailor with 3 question marks. So when we draw now, we won't see anything. It's got no 3 question marks, but we're going to change over to draw whatever the first slide is, and that, when it works successfully, we'll have 3 question marks. So I'm going to say current slide index is 0. That's going to, change once we're processing input. Let's set some background colors on these. A.background color. Well, this will also, you know, be an obvious difference. Let's make this one red. It's going to look ugly. 0.5, 0.03, 0.06. This one will be more like, it'll be like that, but on the green side. Oh, that's B background color. This will be more like that, but on the blue side. And this will be kind of purpley. Okay, so in draw, slide is get current slide. Well, if slide, else, real GL clear color. C is slide.background color. C.X, C.Y, C.Z, C.W. And if all right, so from here below we have a valid slide, and so we're going to say, so the slide has items, so we're just going to have a super hacky way of doing this at first. We're going to say text is slide text equals null, right? If slide.items.count oh, we don't have a way, we didn't mark we need to have a way to know what kind of item each of these is. So I'm just going to put a type here for now. And I'm going to say result.type equals slide text. If slide.item0.type is equal to slide text, then text item equals slide.item0. Right? Let's call this text item. If we have a text item, we'll eventually get the font from that item and all that. Color is text item.color. Y is text item.y coordinate, and we draw centered. We'll put our immediate beginning here. And dot text item dot text. So we do all these things. Now, type is not a, what did I call it? Item type. Let's just call it type. Get current slide, I need to define that. So, if we don't have a slideshow, we return null, right? If otherwise we return the first, clamp current slide index 0 the slideshow.slides.count -1, and then current slide index. There we go. Wanted slide text, give slide item, right. So text item equals. So, you know, you might wrap this up in an abstraction or something, but basically we check to make sure it's a text, and then we know we can cast it to text. All right, well, that's something, but we're getting the green, which means we didn't get a slide for some reason. Why didn't we get a slide? Let me verify that. It is null. Why is it null? These slides show. Oh, because I didn't add these slides. B, C, D. Okay, I don't know why I'm looking at a white screen now. That's really disturbing. What's going on? What did I do wrong? It didn't give me an array bounds check error, right? No. All right, let's just see where I did it wrong. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? It's growing the array. Come on. See, show source. Oh, because it's, I hope somebody caught that on the stream. We didn't assign to these slideshow until after. Still missed a.background color under C. That's a good point as well. No, don't run the, Now I have to wait for 10 seconds for Visual Studio. This is so painful. No. That one. Okay, that is good. That is good, okay. That is good. So, now to check that, we can, of course, I can change my current slide index to like 1, and it should be a different color with different, no! Okay. There we go. So it's different color slide, different text. So now we almost have a slideshow program that I could just hard code as long as I only ever wanted one line of text on a screen and no images, which is almost, for practical purposes, as good as PowerPoint. I mean, that looks better than most PowerPoint slides I've ever seen already, so there's something about that. Okay, the color is kind of ugly, but what do you want? Okay, so we're going to start doing input. Is there any questions about what I just did? People telling me to fix it. GL Clear clears the screen to the color, and it clears the depth buffer. Needs more gradients. Yeah, we'll do gradients later. What is the size of a type in bytes? Right now, I believe it's 8 or 4. I don't remember. All right. So let's add input. And what I'm going to do again is I'm going to at least look at the Sokoban input, which is called player control. And I don't really know if we want very much of it. Yeah, we don't really. We might. So this uses key map stuff, which we might want to have later so that people can do key mappings for their, for their own slideshow to do things, but we're not really going to do that yet because we won't have enough key commands to bother with having key mapping for a while. Okay, so let's just use this as a visual reference rather than like copying it. And I'm going to go to input, and I'm going to save a file there for a second, and we're going to load that. I have this capital I input, and I haven't totally vetted the compiler for like not loading things of similar names, so I'm not going to tempt fate for now, and I'm going to call it user input. Just because. All right. So I'm going to have read input. We're going to basically do that. Okay, this is not a game. It doesn't have undo or restart. But we are going to where do we call this from? Because it's not clear to me where this is getting. So this events, this frame, and all that is part of this input system. And I'm not sure where that's getting called from. Oh, maybe just the window proc, but update window events. Let's see who calls that. That might get called from like GL automatically or something, in which case maybe we want to think about decoupling that eventually. Oh, it's in main. Let me see. Update window event. Whoa! I hope you guys know why this is bad. This is the kind of thing that happens. I'm not going to be editing Sokoban right now, but can anyone tell me why this is bad? That is happening there. This is at the end of the frame of do one frame in Sokoban. It is bad because now there's a one frame lag in all input in that game. You press a key and it doesn't register until you get around to the next frame. Although, if we're blocking at the end of swap buffers, maybe it doesn't matter in principle because it's effectively the start of the next frame, except it's before catalog reloads. Like, really you want this to be one of the first things in the frame in any game that's being responsive. So I'm going to tell whoever's programming Sokoban to fix that. And here we'll do that. We'll update it right here. And let's go to main for show and make sure we're reading input. So we're not undoing or restarting. Should ignore input. Should quit. We called that should quit and not should quit game. Okay, so we're going to do console stuff later. So we're going to leave that open or in there. We're not going to have escape do anything. Basically, this kind of stuff that I'm commenting out here, we're going to maybe want an analog of later. And then we'll just do that. Let's not worry about this yet. So this kind of thing is basically what we want to do. We want to handle an event. If it's a keyboard event, we can tell if it's pressed. And let's say left is -1, slide, navigate -1, right is +1. And then down and up are going to be the same, but down is +1 and up is -1, I guess. And we might as well make this nicer. Because that old code that we are using for reference was written before we had this type of expression in the language. All right. So slide navigate. That's bound not to compile for one reason or another. Oh, it did. Oh, okay, well, it's so it's a few things happening. I'm no longer checking if it's pressed. So it's navigating slides when I release a key, which is very confusing. All right, there's hello sailor. Oh, unfortunately, there's a radio connect in my brain. It's very long text. So we'll use that to do it. But hey, I have a very minimal slideshow program now, and I could actually program this to have the slides that I want and go give a presentation, as long as it was very simple. But of course, we're going to want to do better than this. Any questions now about what happened there? So do I plan to make an editing UI? Yes, but not for a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it hot loadable hot loadably driven from a text file that's easy to edit. And I'll probably use that in the near future, and then we can make an editing UI later on. Is the program responding every time I press a button? Yes. All right. So one thing that's happening is it's not yet responding to me hitting Alt F4 for some reason. Maybe because my should quit is not being responded to. So we look for this up here. I didn't just add that. All right. So let me verify. All right. Yeah, I'm hitting Alt F4 and it's not working. So I believe should quit. Oh, I don't know. Is that not happening for whatever reason? It is not. Interesting. What if we hit this? That's working. That's sending us a quit. But Alt F4 isn't. I don't. Maybe I'm blocking that for some reason, or maybe you have to create your window with a specific style for Alt F4 to work. I don't remember. It's Windows. Okay. Do you think it skips to WM destroy? Alt F4 sends a WM close. Let's just look. WM close. WM quit. We make an event time quit. So we should be getting that. WM destroy. I don't have a handler. What happens if I run Sokoban and I Alt F4? That works. Oh, you know what? I bet in Sokoban I bet I handle it explicitly because I wanted to turn off the weird alt handling in Windows that screws other stuff up. Yep, I do that explicitly. Such a, just keyboard input in Windows is such a horrible mess. Oh, let's put this down here. I'll put it out here. Hey, all right. So there's a few things that could happen next. It seems to me like the next thing that would be reasonable and that's simple would be to draw multiple lines of text and to make sure that the text color works in that case. So let's do both of those things. Let's test the color first. So in slides, I'm going to say btext.color equals before, I don't know, these are going to be some ugly butt colors. Let's make that black. Let's make this one yellow. Okay, so yellow, white, yellow. Okay, why did the yellow work and the black? Oh, because I set btext. What is my problem? I seem to... All right, so that's black. That's yellow. So our color control works. That's great. Now we want to do multiple lines. So since this is a long line for now, I'm going to bust this up. And then maybe we'll do font size after this, right? Okay, so for now, we've only got one guy. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to fiddle around with the screen space positioning manually for both of these lines. You know, eventually you might want some kind of automated layout, but I'm undecided about how that's going to work yet because I don't really like the way that any of the Microsoft Office stuff does layout. So we're going to try to figure out something new. But right, so let's do the multiple lines. Let me, I'm going to kill this buffer so I don't have as much buffer flailing due to Emacs buffers with the same name. All right, so we're going to say, instead of if text items, I'm going to say for slide.items, if it.type is not equal to slide text, continue. We're only handling text items for now. And then we cast, right? And then we do all this stuff. That's basically it. That's multiple lines, I think. Oh, it's called Y coordinate. I think. That's what I get for picking a name like that. All right, multiple lines of text. I mean, we're basically done. This is basically a professional slideshow application that we can sell for thousands of dollars. Right? Right? Okay. So we have multiple lines of text. We have I mean, really, I think the next step is to do the file format and make it hot load and stuff, which we probably won't finish tonight, but maybe I'll get started on that, and then we'll continue it next time, because I'm probably going to leave in like 40 minutes or 35 minutes. Images will be easier to mess with. I could add them now, but I'd rather add them like once we have the file format, just because this is the order I want to do things in. Transitions will happen later. Transitions again, like you want the file format, I think. Can you do a position array to get Y positions of lines based on values in an array? Well, I mean, how the values are stored doesn't matter. The question is, how do you know what the values are? Like, who stored those values in that array, and how did they decide what the numbers are? Am I eventually going to put that if text logic into the text subclass's implementation of something like draw? No, 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 no. We do not do things that way here. I prefer keeping it outside and procedural, yes, especially when you're rendering. especially when you're rendering. Transitions and images may need to be embedded, so how they are loaded and stored is important. Well, transitions ain't going to be embedded. Probably, I don't know. Images are just going to be image files that live in the folder, like they're just data files. Will you sort by a z-coordinate? I don't know if we want to do that. What I think we're going to do right now is just whatever order things are in the file, we're just going to render things in that order. But if we decide to be kind of 3D-ish later, that would be a thing to do. How hard would I rate the problem of replacing OpenGL? If you want to do that, go ahead, man. Go ahead, man. All right. So, as a little recapper for anyone who saw the animation streams of a couple weeks ago, maybe it was less than a couple weeks. So we made this animation file format, and it has this sort of thing where it's got a version number, and then sort of command or nodes that start with colons, and then this sort of simple command language. And that's a very straightforward way to make a file format, and it's easy to edit and easy to think about. So I'm probably going to make the file format look an awful lot like this, and then just sort of pull over the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in show run tree data shows, and I don't know, my show. I'm going to put a version number, and I'm going to start to have some slides. And it's going to be a little different because in this format on the left, a colon always means a new slide. But on the right here, I think we're going to have, well, I don't know. It depends on how human editable we want this to be, right? So one choice that we would have is to say something like, I don't know, slide, whatever. Maybe we want to name the slides, maybe we don't. I'm not sure if that would come in handy. But then you might start putting a text like, unfortunately, there's a radio connected to my brain. So formats like HTML work like this, where if something's not a command, then it's text. And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. However, well, I don't know. I mean, it's how we could do things. Let me just go over and start. Let me just start transcribing the slides that we have over here, and I want to say background 0.5, 0.03, 0.06, 1. And you might say, well, this is not really clear enough that we're starting a new slide, and maybe so, but I can always put a giant comment there that makes it obvious, right? And I can put those between every slide or something. So I'm just going to copy the text for a second. And then this. And let's change it back to exclamation point. So question is, so when we come to set the colors, for example, so I did this thing where I just said, like, background 03.5, right? So we can do this kind of a thing probably anywhere in here, and it means, okay, for the current slide, just set the background color, and that's fine. But when we start talking about setting the colors of individual text items, do we want to do it in an OpenGL style way? So the OpenGL style way would be something like, okay, whoops, text color, and then some color, like, well, let's pick, 0001, right? So that's what color this one was, right? And then that would mean, oh, the next thing gets that text color, right? And we can go text color, 1101 for yellow. So that's OpenGL style in that it sets a state variable that stays active. So this is one way to do the file. Let me finish filling it out, and then we can look at maybe another way to do the file. Background 0306.51, and we had another background here that was 0.4, 0.03, 0.51. Right. So, and you can do other stuff like, all right, let's do that. Now, the first thing is we haven't specified the y coordinate for any of these yet. And we're not justifying a text or anything yet. Everything is assumed to be center justified. So we could say like, oh, y is 0.5 most of the time, except that here it was y is 0.4, and then y is 0.6, and then y is 0.5. So this would be one way to approximately represent the slideshow that we just showed, as long as I didn't forget anything. Now the thing is, you're almost never going to want to say the text without saying what the y coordinate is, or the font size, or at least what the style is, right? So you can imagine saying up here, like, define style, title as, whatever font name and whatever size, and a default color in case it doesn't get, you could have something like that where you define the style. And then you could say, style title, right? So you're going to want to at least say that for most or all things of text. And so the question is, if that's how it is, maybe it's not a thing like HTML where text on its own line is its own thing. I mean, that's not even, like, HTML is text anywhere, it's messier. But here it's like text on its own line, it's not a command, is human text. But you could say something like, well, no, it's like text at, say the x coordinate is centered, and the y coordinate is 0.5, and the style is title, and then the text, right? I'm not sure. Does anyone have opinions about this? Because the thing is, this format is going to be something that's, what we're talking about is what is the format for the duration when this is hand edited, right? At some point it'll have a graphical editor, and then this format will not particularly matter as long as the graphical editor is good enough for people to prefer to use it. thought the idea of this format was allow you to reference slides from other slideshows, a less linear slideshow program. I don't see how this format is good for that. Well, you can name any of the slides here, right? And then this whole thing would be one set of slides, and you might have another file that's like the long-term set of slides that you use. You got to use your imagination. Like, we're building the program. It doesn't exist yet, right? So you can't, before you've built something, you can't say, oh, this doesn't do what I wanted, because you haven't built the thing that does what you wanted yet. That's how software development works. Use bitwise ops for format. It need only be on/off for anything but font and size. That doesn't make any sense to me. Someone's a fan of the XML style. I am not a fan of the XML style. That is terrible. Someone says this looks way more complicated. Way more complicated than what? Way more complicated than what? There should be named formats. Well, things like fonts and text colors set in one slide apply to all slides following if you don't overwrite it. Well, that's one of the fundamental questions, right? Like, do you want something where properties like background color and stuff carry onward to future slides? My suspicion is no, you don't want that, because that's just leads to error-prone craziness. You could, so it's a different thing. If you say, well, you set the text color once within one slide, and then when the slide's over, it resets for the next slide, right? Then any confusion that you might have about where a particular state is coming from is confined to one slide, right? Which is what OpenGL doesn't have. In something like OpenGL, if you have a state leak, it could be anywhere in your program and you have no idea, where that's at least constrained. Whereas if you set some state early and it leaks over to the rest of the presentation, you don't really want that, I don't think. And again, keep in mind that eventually this will become something a little more like an entity storage format, where you start explicitly saying properties for things a lot of the time. So, yeah, I don't know. God, why does everybody have terrible syntax? Consider this an obligatory Lisp S expression comment. I don't understand why you would think that would be any better. Why the colon? Because then I easily know what is slide text and what isn't. Although if I go this way, then you don't need the colon anymore because everything would have a colon. So I don't know. Someone says it doesn't make sense in ASCII, but bold, underline, italic, strike through is only a true or false, so 1 or 0. Therefore, you can store a lot of data in a single byte. Sure, but I'm really not concerned with that right now. I don't care. This is not an efficient, this is not a size-efficient file format, and it will never need to be because, well, never is a big word, but it's unlikely to ever need to be because slides, there's just not that many of them. There's what? A big slideshow has like 100? The witness has 60,000 entities. It's just like a different scale of problem. And even in the witness, we can load text entities pretty fast. How will you denote lists in the format? Can't have a slideshow app without bullet points. Yes, you can. I think bullet points are dumb, mostly. They're a bad habit. I mean, you can do that here by just left justifying text and starting each line with a bullet, if you want to do that. This is not the kind of slideshow program that is made to do really long, boring presentation with slides packed with text. That's never really a good idea. Yeah, so setting a default style would be good, I agree. You want to be able to change slide order without changing colors and styles, so definitely not stage carry. Right, that's another good point, is you want to be able to just chop slides out and move them around and not have unexpected things happen. Are there any redeeming qualities of HTML that you could steal for this? No. You predict most items will be text, usually with just a style given. So lines would be like title, hello sailor. That could be true. That could be true. Yeah, escaping quotes is a pain in the butt, which you would have to do if you had to put all the text in quotes. Sean, I'm being bombarded by things. Do I not see your suggest? I don't see anything from Nothings 2 that I've skipped. Oh, wait. Do bracket style, bracket text with no leading. What does no leading mean? Yeah, bullet points and numbers make for bad presentations. All right. Oh, Sean wants no leading colon. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's hard for me to care that much, honestly. I mean, all of these suggestions are just like epsilon of syntax in one direction or another, and it doesn't really matter. So what matters is we're gonna want to be able to define styles in some way. And I guess the question is, are there more commands or are there more styles? I feel like this might be the wrong choice, but I'm going to start with the colon anyway, because I just want to be able to type text. When I'm working on the slide text, I want to be able to type stuff in and not think about what style it is. And, you know, maybe I could do like empty brackets or whatever for default style, but I kind of, yeah, I kind of just want the freedom to type stuff while I'm thinking about my presentation. That may be wrong. We'll see. What exactly a style is going to be a little bit weird too, because like I want a style to have a default y coordinate in it, right? So the title should be able to say, well, the y coordinate is whatever, and then all my titles are at a certain y, but if I want to override that for a particular title, I can then set it. So it is a little bit like GL state variables, maybe, where the style is just like a batch of state. But then I sort of need to know what the states are and so forth. Well, I've been talking for a long time, and so I want to at least get something going. So why don't I go to Sokoban again and all right. I'm not going to make this catalog asset, but I'm going to copy out the basic, basic, basic structure and then delete everything. So I'm going to say I'm going to comment that out for now, and I'm going to say load slideshow full path is a string, so we call load slideshow and we give it a full path. We do a text file handler. Agent is load slideshow, and that's just a string that we use for debugging. We're not going to do any of this graph edit index stuff. So if we see a line with a colon, we do that, right? And instead of having a current node, we're going to have a current slide. So if we see something that doesn't start with a colon and it wasn't a comment because our text file handler filters out comments, then it's a slide, Aaron, line whatever, dot text for a slide, but we haven't started any slide yet. All right. This is very similar. So let's return the slideshow. Oops. Well, does that even compile, first of all? Graph.name. All right, well, we don't have a graph. We don't really have, that's just for a short asset name for error messages. We don't have such a thing right now. Return null. Okay, so here's what we're going to do is we're going to say the slideshow equals load slideshow data shows, is it called shows? My.show. And what it should do is print out a line for every command, but we construct a blank slideshow, but we don't put any slides in it. So then we'll get that green empty screen slide, right, when we run. Yeah. Okay. So command slide, command background, command text. Error got text for slide, but we haven't started any slide yet. The reason we haven't started any slide yet is because we didn't populate our slide command. So let's do that. So you'll note I did this sort of thing. Let's call this RHS. If command is equal to whatever, case slide or the default so that's just going to tell us what we haven't handled yet. I'll just make that easy to spot. If it's slide, what did our slide command look like? It just had no arguments and it makes a new slide. Error detection if somewhat, well, yeah. So it's junk on the line. This format is going to change very quickly, so I'm not going to get too picky about errors and stuff yet. I'm going to say slide is a new slide, current slide equals slide, result dot, I keep thinking I'm in C++. Slide, right? Okay, so we make a slide, and then we got text. So if we have text for slide, we will do the following. Text is make text line, which already will have its spaces trimmed and stuff. And then current slide dot, is it called lines? Items. Hey, it loaded our text. It didn't load the other properties. So, you know, here we have two lines, both stomped at the default y equals 0.5. And it didn't, you know, we didn't do our background colors and stuff. But you can see there, hey, command background, command text color, and all this stuff. This is pretty good. It's pretty good. I've got maybe another 10 minutes before it's time to go, so I think I'm just going to start processing these properties. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to have, okay, we're just going to have an empty, this is a little bit messy. Oh, wait. Let's handle the background color, because that's easy, before we do text properties, because the background color just goes on the current slide, and we did this, right? So background, and I believe our code from before had oh, that was, okay. String to scale factor, which had our own scaling, and that was a wraparound string to float. So I'm going to say R how do I want to do this? I'm going to say, I don't know why I'm doing alpha for the background color, but I'm going to do it. So that's floats, and success is a bool, and the remainder is a string. And I'm going to say R, success, and remainder are string to float line, G, B, A, if length success, log print agent unable to read red color error in line whenever unable to read red color handler line number whatever. Well, we'll just continue to the next line. So we're just going to do this each time, because why not? So for green, hopefully I'm not getting this wrong. Anytime you paste something like this, you know what? Let's make alpha optional. And then well, let's do this. If we have a current slide background color is v4 RGBA. Else, error in line whatever got the background color for a slide. We haven't started any slide yet. Well, that's interesting because, oh, unable to read red color. Because I'm passing the wrong thing here. So this one has to be RHS, right? Because the command, the command background is the first word, and then RHS is the next thing, and then these want to be remainder, right? Remainder and remainder. Hey, we got colors. We got colors. This is totally a professional slideshow app that we can ship. Okay, so we're not handling the Y command. Let's do that. So let's have, I'm going to do this in what you might think of as a slightly sloppy way. I'm going to say, text state, current text state is a slide text, right? And whatever the properties of slide text end up being, we're just going to poke them on this, and whenever we start a new slide, reset the text state for the new slide. Right. I'm just going to make a dummy and set it to that. I could do something fancier, like I could say initializer of slide text on the pointer to current text state. That's probably harder to read, right? But the same effect. It'll, well, actually, I don't have struct literals yet. So I can't set a reasonable default color for this text. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say reset defaults to defaults current text state. That's fine. Color is just going to be whites. So we're going to run the initializer. We're going to do what I just said. And then set the color. Hopefully that is the right. Okay, so now that's fine, but we're not using that at all. So the first step in using it is to actually, when we get a new slide text, let's pass current, what was it called? Current text state to our make text, and state is slide text. And I'm just going to say, before I set the type or anything, I'm going to say equals state, and then we'll override. Actually, we don't need to do that anymore. So we're just going to set the type and the text, and we'll leave all the scalar properties what they are. All right, so that's fine. It's good that we didn't just totally destroy ourselves, But now we're not overriding that state with anything. So in theory, I should be able to process the y command now by saying y remainder is string to float RHS. If we didn't get a success, unable to read y coordinate, right? Otherwise, current text state.y equals y. So in theory, that'll do what we want. Y coordinate. I typed them. Wait, did I type them wrong? That's a weird one. Oh, because 0.4, right. So we're right-handed. So this is 0.6. 0.6 is higher on the screen than 0.4. Okay. So I did want to go right about now, but we're so close to done. There's only one more thing to do, which is the text color, because this one, it's also complaining that text, but like this was a speculative thing that we haven't done yet, right? About how to use styles and stuff. So the only real command corresponding to the functionality that we have so far that we haven't done yet is the text color. So let me do that, and it's sad because this looks really good with, you know, the white text. White on any background color doesn't tend to look too bad, but once we start goofing around with it, which we're about to do, you know, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a thing called color is color and success and remainder is read vector 4 alpha optional RHS. If success, well, if no success, continue. And then we'll chop all this stuff and then go there. So that makes our background handling much easier. And then I don't think I'm going to need any of that commented out code, but whatever. So here, the whole reason I'm doing this is so I can reuse it for the text color, right? So read vector 4 alpha optional takes a string, and returns color vector 4, success is a bool, remainder is a string. All right, so I'm going to say, I forgot to cut the RGB, this stuff all goes here. Return v4 RGBA. Instead of continue, going to do that. You know, I don't need to define all the, whatever, like, in fact, I'll do this, and I'll just overwrite it. I'm going to say colors of vector 4. Right, so, oh, and f is a float. I don't know, that seems somewhere in the neighborhood. Identifier R, line 155. Right, so equals color. Line 192, right, it's not called RHS. It's, I guess I just call it S. Agent, oh. Handler. Not called text handler? Text file handler. G is not a member of vector 4. I don't know why I put G. Handler. Okay, let's see what that does. It should do nothing new. We're still reading our background colors correctly. And the reason I did all that, when it already worked, is so that now we can do text color, and it won't be crazy, right? So text color. In theory, actually, like we still have a place to store this color, even if we haven't started a slide because it's on the stack. But you know, we might as well give them that error because the color will never be used otherwise. Hey, look, it read our colors. Now they're ugly. Okay, this is now a professional slideshow program. We don't hot load yet. We'll do that next time. That should be pretty easy. But for now, I'm going to take a break and go home. Are there any final questions? This is now actually sort of a slideshow program. Did I add? It's always good to actually check in your data that you want. The short instruction ASM style file format allows more modular code rather than passing everything on a single line with optional args. Okay, wait. People are still talking about syntax for a while. I'm getting past all the syntax. There's been a lot of chat. All right. Considering English reading is top-down, might the final format be left-handed? Only the format, not rendering. There's no, the format, sure, right. Like if you type multiple lines of text, it'll go left-handed top to bottom, yeah. We don't do that yet. Right now, if you type 2 lines of text, they'll land on top of each other. But we'll have like a default, you know, we'll change the y coordinate by the line advance of that thing. Do I have a preference for right-handed coordinates? Yes. What is hot loading? Hot loading is when you leave the program running, like the slideshow program will stay running, and then I can edit the file of the slides, and then the changes will appear on the screen immediately when I save the file. What do I use for text rasterization and layout? There's just some code that, that I wrote a long time ago that uses FreeType 2, although am I using STB FreeType now? I don't actually know. But I used to use free type 2. Maybe I'm using Sean's code now, just to pack stuff into textures and render those textures. The disadvantage to this way that I do it right now is I don't have subpixel text positioning, which you actually do care about for medium-sized text and below, or lower display resolutions, because it becomes impossible to get the right amount of space between letters otherwise, and I don't do that right now. Because this is made for fast game text rendering, there are some text rendering methods that don't have that limitation. For example, there's distance field approaches that apparently have gotten pretty good now that they've been modified a few ways. And there's a thing that just automatically rasterizes the Bezier curves on the GPU. The problem is that one takes a lot more fill rate, and if you're drawing big text, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. So I have not yet, because there isn't a de facto winner of how to do this, I have not yet converted my text over. Oh, the distance field approach also kind of requires, I don't know how you author those. I don't know if you pre-process a font or something. Anyway. Do we have a preferred way of handling layouts, justifications? I don't know. I'm just going to do something. I don't care. It's going to be either in the style, and then you'll override that for a particular piece of text if you want. At what point will presenters notes be added? Well, that's something that I definitely use a lot, so it'll go in. I really strongly dislike the PowerPoint presenters notes. I think they're close to useless. So the way they work here is going to be very different. Why do I have a preference for right-handed coordinates? Because they're better. Is this some kind of a need for the splash screen and end credits of a game? No, this is for doing slideshow presentations. Do I plan on having vector graphics or anything for graphs? Yeah, I want to just be able to draw stuff totally procedurally. So there will be some way to do that. I want to just be able to write some code and have it get compiled and displayed in there. So that'll probably be a good maybe test of using the compiler as a library, it saves the code out to a DLL. I don't know, got to think about it. Someone is saying if you're drawing big text, it will probably take up a large amount of space on the screen, so it might not matter if it takes more fill rate. Wait, no, I mean, the bigger you draw it, the more it matters if it takes more fill rate, because it's going to take more fill rate. I mean, for a slideshow, maybe none of this really matters, right? Because it's just text and images on a screen. It's way easier than drawing a 3D game. So who knows? We'll see. I mean, I can change the method of text rendering, and it's relatively orthogonal to all these other things. I spelled unfortunately wrong. Why didn't people tell me about that? That's terrible. All right, it's fixed. If you allow drawing on a slide during a presentation, will you have a way to save this for future reference? Probably, yeah, I don't know. In our experience, the GPU-rendered Beziers is faster than linear proportion with area. Larger characters render faster per pixel. Okay. That's good news. I guess it's still, I don't have a clear picture of what the overall performance characteristics would be compared to this kind of a method, but at least it's good that you don't have to be super afraid of it scaling up. How do I plan on making switching from slides to other windows smooth for presentation? I mean, you just Alt-Tab. I don't understand what the problem is. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for stopping by. We'll do another one of these maybe tomorrow, maybe over the weekend. And I guess, what do we do next? Probably images comes next, right? Yeah. I imagine images come next. And then maybe defining styles. I don't know. Like after images, the problem is that I need to make a slideshow that I care about in order to start like knowing what the features are that I really want. And the problem is that my next presentation is for the company here, and it's all secret stuff that I can't divulge. So maybe I have to kind of start making a slideshow in secret and then talk. Although I know I'm going to want to at least do some like simple vector shapes. So I want to be able to say like rectangle or something. So we'll do hot loading images and like colored rectangles. And that's certainly enough for one episode. All right, see you guys later.